Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 6 with the motion applying the death penalty for corruptor. Here, I am Zulfaza Janah Rakhma with name 013 and Farah Nazilah with name 001. We'll present our argument. Do we agree or disagree with the motion applying the death penalty for corruptor? And the first, Farah will deliver some of her argument.
Then I will present my argument about the motion applying the death penalty for corruptor. Number 1, the death penalty makes the corruptors give up. If not punished by death, then the corruptors will make the same mistakes. Figure who agrees with the imposition of the death penalty for corruptors is the coordinating Minister for Political, Legal and Security Affairs, Menkopol Hukam Mahfud MD. Mahfud said that he had agreed to this idea from the start, especially if the number that was corrupted reached a large number. I agree with this mention because if the corruptors are not sentenced to death, they will continue to repeat their mistakes after they leave prison, and that will be bad for the country. Number 2, the death penalty is carried out as a state law enforcement. If the death penalty is not enforced, the corruptors must have an addictive disease to the act and it will produce a chain effect. Most people do not agree with the death penalty given to criminals. One party who feels that they do not have the burden to do so is Attorney General S.T. Burhanuddin. He admits that the does not have the burden of executing the death penalty if the law legally requires it. I agree with the mention because if the corruptors are left alone without being given severe punishment, then they will be increasingly addicted to their action and will have a lasting effect. And the last, number 3, corruption cuts a sense of justice. Corruption clearly cuts the sense of justice in the country because in the eyes of society, even a thief is punished more than the punishment for a corruptor. The reality in Indonesia, the law is blunt upward and sharp downward. For example, a chicken thief who is sentenced to prison for up to years without compensation, while a corrupt who thieves an extraordinary amount of state property is only sentenced to 1 or 2 years and even still gets compensation in the form of a reduction in prison time from state officials. I agree with the death penalty for corruptors because if this action is carried out, then justice in this country is heavily disturbed and in accordance with the 5 Pancasila precepts.
Then I will present my argument about the motion. Death penalty for corruptors does not have a deterrent effect. Why? Because death penalty for corruption criminals is only felt by the perpetrators, but it does not affect other parties to stop committing acts of corruption. Thus, it is not effective in eradicating corruption. According to Collie F. Brown, country manager of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, for Indonesia, death penalty is not considered an efficient thing to prevent corruption and any crime. So I disagree about the motion because death penalty does not provide a deterrent effect on other parties to stop doing corruption. And the next, number 2, death penalty violates human rights. Everyone has the right to live. Likewise, to corruptors who have the right to live, the crimes that have been committed are detrimental to many people, especially the country. If the corruptor is given a death sentence, then the crime that has been committed is also over. Therefore, corruptors must be responsible for what they do while continuing their lives. Komnas HAM has rejected the imposition of death penalty for convicts, both general crimes and extraordinary crimes. So I disagree about the motion because corruptors must be responsible for what they do with continuing their lives. And the last, that penalty is not the right solution to eradicate corruption. I think the right solution is to impose impoverishment by not having a company, not having a credit card, revoking political rights, and most importantly, returning corrupted states' finance. This is evident based on the Corruption Perception Index data in 2019. Countries that are in the top ranking succeed in suppressing the corruption rate do not apply the death penalty for corruptors such as Denmark, New Zealand, Finland, and Singapore. However, China, which applies death penalty, has a long corruption perception index. Therefore, I don't agree with the motion that penalty has never been a solution to the root problem of corruption.
Maybe that's all we can say. If there is many mistake from we say, we apologize. And the last, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.